Well, this is pretty radical. Meet the Genesis GV60, a Tesla Model Y rival that has a few interesting tricks up its sleeve. And it looks,
well, a little bit strange actually. So many electric cars these days have a sort of coupe SUV roofline, and it does help the aerodynamics, helps the car cut through the air to maximize range, but I think it looks just a little bit awkward, a little bit ungainly from some angles. But you do have nice details like these flush-fitting door handles and these cameras for the door mirrors. But I guess if you're going to criticize the car, you have to look at its rivals. And I mean, it's not a class full of beautiful cars, is it, with the Tesla Model Y and the Volkswagen ID.4, but maybe you prefer those cars. Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe to Auto Express for more brand new car videos like this.
but if it's going up against Tesla, the GV60 needs to bring strong range and performance to the table, and on the whole, it does. The rear-wheel drive GV60 Premium is the entry-level model and produces 225 brake horsepower. A 77.4 kWh battery provides a decent 321 mile range. The dual-motor GV60 Sport has 314 bhp and a range of 292 miles, and this model will even disconnect the front motor when it can to save energy. Clever stuff.
And there'll also be a performance version, and that will have 429 brake horsepower. And that's more power than a Ferrari 360, and the performance will go from 0 to 62 miles an hour in 4 seconds flat. So it's not Tesla quick, but I mean, in a family SUV like this, you don't really need to go any quicker, do you? And the charging is good too. So we've got 350 kilowatt charging across the whole range. And that means that a 10 to 80% charge takes just 18 minutes. And the performance has a decent range as well with 290 miles.
Genesis has now confirmed that the top model will actually be called the GV60 Sport Plus, probably to separate it from Tesla's naming strategy. Speaking of which, the Sport Plus runs the Tesla Model Y performance pretty close in terms of numbers. That car can go almost 300 miles on a charge and hit 62 miles an hour in 3.5 seconds. But of course, there's much more to a car than what the spec sheet can tell you. So what's the GV60 like inside?
So the cabin, I think, is much more successful than the exterior. You've got quite a minimalist design in some places. So you've got the nice thin air vents here. It does get a little bit cluttered here on the center console. There's a lot of silver and a lot of sort of knurled surfaces going on, but overall I think it feels really modern, really quite fresh. And you've got these two huge screens in front of you taking center stage in the cabin. So one is a digital instrument panel, and the second is the central infotainment display, and it is super crisp, super responsive, and there's great tech inside here too. So unfortunately we don't get this in Europe, but there will be a facial recognition system with the GV60, which scans the driver's face, recognizes who you are, and will set things like the temperature, the seat position, and your drive modes to suit your preferences, which is pretty cool, isn't it? And you've also got a boost button like you'd get in a Formula One car, where you press this and you get an extra 27 horsepower of extra thrust, which is pretty nifty, isn't it?
It does look a bit tacky in some areas, and I'm not sure blue leather and green piping work very well together, but the cabin is solid. There's clever tech in here too, like fingerprint recognition to unlock and start the car, as well as a noise cancelling system to keep things quiet when you're on the move. Over-the-air updates also enable improvements for the voice control, driver assist systems, and even the suspension and brake settings.
So the GV60 rides on the same eGMP architecture as the Kia EV6 and Hyundai Ioniq 5, and that means that the batteries are mounted under the floor of the car. And sometimes with EVs that can mean that your feet are raised and yeah, you end up lacking under thigh support. But in this car, it's not too bad, and headroom's pretty good as well considering the sloping coupe SUV roofline. And elsewhere, the quality is actually really nice. The leather's nice and waxy. You've got some nice suede trim on the headlining and a few little nice silver details. And you've got this Bang & Olufsen stereo as well to play your tunes, which is always good to have. And elsewhere, well, storage-wise, we've got a cup holder over here. We've got quite a small door bin actually, but there's a big cubby down here as well with a net where you can shove some smaller items. So generally, yeah, it's a nice place to be back here. So in terms of practicality then, the GV60 has a 432 litre boot, and as you can see, it doesn't actually look that big, does it? You've got quite a high load floor here and quite a bit of intrusion from the wheel arches, and it's 111 litres less than a Volkswagen ID.4's boot. But at the front, you do at least get a 53 litre front boot, but that decreases to 20 litres if you go for a four-wheel drive model, because those have an extra motor on the front axle.
There's also a handy area under the boot floor to store charging cables. Speaking of cables, the eGMP platform also enables vehicle-to-vehicle charging, and the GV60 can even power devices like outdoor projectors and cookers. Watch this video where we test the GV60's chief rival, the Tesla Model Y, and discover that it's just as frustrating as it is brilliant. And thanks for watching.